efficiently drive for Uber and Lyft. But this can be a pain at times and very unsafe. That was until Joe found Maximo, the rideshare app that automates Uber and Lyft ride requests. Maximo will use the filters set by Joe, like time, distance, and passenger rating, to determine which rides are best suited for Joe. When a ride request comes in, Joe doesn't need to worry. Maximo will automatically accept the ride request that matches his filters, and then turn off the app that isn't currently on a ride. Once Joe finishes the ride, Maximo will turn everything back on. This will allow Joe to focus more on his passengers and driving safe.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Jeez, is that my mic? Yikes. What's up, Lisa? What's up, Thomas? What's up, Holly? You changed your name a little bit. Okay. AKA Holly Camp. Okay. What's up, Bud Soda? What's up, Tommy? What's up, Mac? What's up, Nico? Or is it Nico? I think it's Nico, right? What's up, Jerry? I'm getting a weird feedback. Is anybody else getting that?
Yeah, I'm getting it too, but I'm not.
At first I thought it was because I had my fan going, but then I muted my mic and I'm still getting it.
I wonder if it's me.
No,
Are
it's
you
not me.
blaming me again, Gary? Come on.
Maybe
every week.
Wait, I think it's gone down a bit. If not gone.
Yeah, it's gone. Well,
if not, it's much better. So
yeah.
What's up, guys? Thanks for joining us again on a Thursday night. We're going to get into a couple of bigger topics here, but I'm going to start off with an Instacart situation here because I think it ties into the bigger conversation for tonight. Well, thanks for applauding. Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about this Instacart IPO because we haven't seen any of the gig apps either time their IPO correctly, do their IPO correctly, have their IPO priced correctly, or succeed from doing an IPO. None of those have happened to any gig economy company that said, let's go public. And now Instacart is going to go IPO. And they did something that none of the other gig companies have done. They actually reduced their company value by 40% on their own before being looked at by, I'm assuming that they're going to go on the Dow, not the NASDAQ, but I guess I don't know that for certain either. But I'm just kind of curious, Gary, I think that before we started, you definitely had some thoughts on this. I'd like to hear them. I'd like to hear why. I mean, like, I know we were all joking about why even go public at this point. I mean, the way the market is, the way the world is, everything. And then
the height of their success was the pandemic.
Right.
Well, now the pandemic's going away. So when is the best time to go public if you're ever going to go public? Well, it's, where you're still at the top. Because if you're starting a downtrend and say they wait till end of this year or first of next year to do it, well, there's no pandemic. So their value is probably going to keep dropping. We've seen them go from 39 billion down to 24 billion.
Yeah.
And if you wait till March next year, I would bet it's probably going to be lower than that as well. I think it'll be lower than 24 billion because I mean, even though it's a popular service, there's a lot of shopping services. I mean, you got, Walmart Spark, they do Walmart and Sam's. You got Amazon, they do Whole Foods and a couple other ones. And, Instacart's not the only one out there like they used to be, because when these apps hit, like Uber, of course, was the very first. Then Lyft followed up, and then a whole bunch of mini ones. And then, DoorDash hit. Well, we already had UberEats at that time, but DoorDash hit. Now we got, a bunch of different ones. We got Grubhub and all them. Instacart, I believe Instacart was one of the very first actual shopping apps, or at least that I remember. I don't know if anybody else remembers one before Instacart. but that was the very first one I ever did. And the only reason why I remember them is because they were paying huge bonuses at the time when they first released.
Right.
You know, and so the longer stuff goes on, the more money they're going to lose. So to go public, you know, now they're opening up to different investors, you know, such as the public, so they can raise more capital. And what I think they'll probably do with this capital is they'll probably try and buy out some of these smaller companies that are popping up, because that only makes sense.
Sure. Well, one of the things that I wanted to, the video I was going to play was specifically oddly stating GoPuff, which I really haven't given a ton of credit to, but they were like, they're already a nail in their side. They're already like hurting their business model. And I was thinking, gosh, well, so is Spark, so is Shipped. I mean, there's a lot of them hurting them now. And it's like, and Instacart's not known for being a, like, hey, you guys take care of everybody. Like, you take care of your drivers, you take care of your customers, you're a good company. Like, nobody really says that about Instacart.
Not anymore. When they first released, they were great. You know, like I said, when they first came out, I remember them. You know, they had the exact same model as Uber. They would send it to each individual driver. You get 45 seconds to decide. The pay was great. I mean, I think I would do like 3 runs an hour and make over $50 an hour. And it's not like I was shopping, you know, lots of items. And back then it was only Homelands for me in my state. The only thing we had was Homeland stores. That's it.
You guys, I forgot that I didn't even do an intro tonight. I am so sorry. So obviously, sorry guys. We got Gary here from Middleton Tech. We got Kim from Kim's Side Money Plans. We got Hannibal from Hannibal Is Hungry. And we got Delivering with Ellen sitting in with us tonight as well, too. So thank you guys for coming on. Sorry I didn't hit on that. I had it right here in my notes, too. I'm just, I don't know. I guess my brain's all over the place. But yeah, I don't know. I question why even go IPO then? You know, what's the point at this point?
Well, if you want to buy out other companies,
right,
you need extra capital.
Because you're not going to buy a Walmart. You're not going to buy a Target.
You're not going to buy a Walmart. You're not going to buy a Target. You're not going to buy a Shipped. You're not going to buy an Amazon. So you have to go for them smaller companies, which, I mean, we say smaller, but I bet you GoPuff, what are they probably valued at 7 to 10 billion, I would think.
I don't know. I know that they're not open to anything with Instacart, though. They're kind of like liking their model. They're still in that early stage.
Well, they're more of a who can I compare them to? Corner Shop, maybe. This Corner Shop's like a 7-Eleven, right? Anybody do Corner Shop?
No,
Corner
Shop can be full shopping.
Yeah, it's full shop. You go like grocery stores. Same thing as Instacart. I feel like at least in my market as a customer, Corner Shop is cheaper than Instacart. But I think because the grocery stores that it's like really neighborhood grocery stores. And I think that sometimes the prices are a little cheaper. But it's grocery stores though.
Right. Well, GoPuff, the only thing I know about GoPuff, and I did them. I did like 4 shifts for them. And I was like, hell no, this is not a W-2. Or this is a W-2. This is not a 1099. That's what I was thinking.
Treat you like a W-2.
Yeah, you can't turn anything down. You can't pick and choose which ones you're going to take. You know, you have to drive back to the warehouse. If they send you 15 miles out for $5, you got to drive all the way back 15 miles to the warehouse. Yeah, it's definitely not. But everything I delivered to them, you would pick up or from their warehouse at the time. I don't know about now. This was 4 or 5 years ago. It was everything you could get out of 7-Eleven. That's the only thing that they had in their warehouse.
This was for college kids. It was for, like snacks, munchies, stuff like that. Yeah. I think it's still kind of similar, but I'm sure they probably brought it out a little bit.
All right.
I guess the biggest question though, I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but the biggest question I have on this is, none of these other gig companies ever, when they went to IPO, Lyft, Uber, let's stick with them. They didn't say, hey, let's really take a look at this. Hey, reduce our price by 40%. They waited for the SEC to do that. And what ended up happening is now look, Uber's trading at half its IPO value, and Lyft's trading at 20% of its.
Well, but look what happened to DoorDash. you know, they came out the gate higher than anyone has ever peaked. And look at their stock price now, and their investors are pissed.
Yeah.
You know, because you went from, and that's the thing, they should have came out and be like, whoa, guys, we're not that valued. You know, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering
they should
if
have,
if this is a better play, like a more realistic play to downplay.
It has to be more realistic, or at least they understand that. I know I read something maybe a day or two ago where a lot of CEOs are predicting that we're going into a recession, or at least warning. So things may get worse. So it may be a good idea for Instacart just to get this done before things go into a spiral, and doing it 6 months from now, a year from now, maybe even a worse of an idea. So I think that's probably why they're even doing it right now. It's probably the best of the situation they're currently
in. Kim, Ellen, have either of you worked Instacart?
No.
I have not.
I'm like,
good. Don't ever
heard
do
too
it.
many bad things with them.
Yeah, don't ever go there.
Like
at least try it. Hold on, Steve. They should, guys, at least try it. It's different for everybody. It's not the same as
I've tried to get on their platform and they denied me. And after hearing stories of the problems people are having, to me, it's probably not worth it. You know, I'm on Shipped. But I don't know. I keep getting mixed feelings.
Did they give you a reason why?
They said they weren't hiring shoppers in my area.
Okay.
So I haven't tried in a while, but
I've always had Instacart. I just have never used it. I just have never had. I've turned it on. I've seen the orders come in, and when you talk to me, I guess, because I come from the food delivery world, like whenever I turned it on and saw the orders, and I'm like, why would I spend my time for like $10 when I can go to McDonald's and get the same order and stay in the comforts of my own car, drive up to a drive-through and go deliver it to someone's house? Like, I never understood I feel like there's a disconnect. And not only that, for me, like I don't know. No, it's just not, to me, it's just not me. But I don't know. I just feel like a whole bunch of like anybody who's trying to do IPOs right now, or it's tricky. Like if you're gonna go into this, like I mean, I understand, Hannibal, what you were saying, that, you know, go in low and kind of see. I just feel like they're like rolling the dice and say, let's see what happens, and maybe it'll get better. But you're taking a really big chance on your shareholders that it's gonna get better. And I don't know what the future predicts, but the way it's going, I don't know.
Well, it could be, and this is just personal opinion here, that maybe there's some investors that are thinking about pulling out. And if they pull out now before they're public, then that's money just vanishes. They don't get anything back from it. At least being public, somebody else is picking up those shares.
I just feel like also they're taking a chance. If you're going to go in at a 40% reduction, what happens once you go in at that 40% reduction? What happens if it keeps going down from what you actually started at, and then you're going to completely, lose even more than what you're going in at? I don't know. That's why I think it could be like a really tricky for them.
Yeah. And also, I mean, what about look at Uber and Lyft. I mean, they had it so locked up that their investors couldn't get out.
Right.
Before till they
put in that,
and they were public for 6 months and all. I mean, they were like so locked in. I would assume Instacart's done that same kind of thing, where they've got their investors all locked up anyway.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like right now they probably don't have anything in place that says, hey, you can't pull out of your investment. Because typically if you invest in a private company, you have some kind of contract and, saying, hey, I can pull my investment at any time, blah, 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 because you still have shares even as a private company. So if they're not going public, maybe one of their investors said, hey, if you guys aren't going public, I'm going to have to pull my money and put it somewhere else. Or
receive some kind of pressure from
they could
have the big cash in the company. They were like, you got to make this public or we're gonna bounce.
Right. I mean, when were they released? A while, right? Like 2015, 2014.
Yeah. I would guess 15 because if they were 14, it was only in a few cities, I would guess. But
2012.
What's up, Jason? How are you doing?
Yeah, so they've been out since 2012. Now it's now 10 years. If they haven't got ready for a public launch now, I believe they probably would lose investors.
10 years seems to be about the marker to go public.
Yeah. I would say 7 to 10. Yeah, 7 to 10 years on a big company like that. You know, you're definitely going to be like, okay, yeah, let's go public. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on from Instacart, but also just keeping it in the back of the mind and even what they value their own company at. DoorDash in Australia with the TWA has now gone to a union model. Did you see this? Europe, union model, and other countries headed towards union model quickly. And I guess we've kind of seen that coming, but this is very weird. That Australia, I mean, I guess Australia could have been a coin toss, but the way that their parliament, I guess it's a parliament, their government, the way that their parliament works, it's always kind of hard to follow the different groups in parliaments, but the union group has won that to make them whatever they're going to give them in type of, their type of legislation that's going to give them kind of ABC or the ABC test type, AB5 type rules. They're going to be getting certain amounts of money, and they're going to be allowed to have a voice. They're going to be allowed to get some, this, that, the other. And something that we don't speak about here much that I think needs to be really brought up, because I talk about it on the audio podcast a lot, is that, we forget that 85% of the gig workers in this country work 20 hours or less on these platforms every week. So if 85% of the gig workers in this country are working less than 20 hours a week and that's not single platforms. This is, if I'm a gig worker and I'm on 5 platforms, I'm working under 20 hours on all of those platforms. The amount of platforms you're using doesn't matter. It's how many hours is that employee or that gig worker putting in. And if 85% are putting in less than 20 hours, clearly the majority of gig workers in this country are doing this for supplemental or extra income. This, because you can't work 17 hours a week and be making a living. There's no way.
No.
There's even if you're, married and both of you are doing it and you're both doing it like that. I mean, there's just no way. And so I think for the most part, we all know that here on YouTube, we see mostly people who are doing it full time. So we're getting a lot of that 15% that we see and meet. I'm sure we meet some, and I know some that come through and stuff, but we don't really I don't think we ever think about it like the big chunk of majority has other work or other income coming in, and this is only supplemental. I kind of got into this on Tuesday with Lou and Mary, the Long Island Dash experience, and they both have full-time jobs during the day, and they do their dashing for extra money and to be able to go out, and their daughter's going to college, and there's a lot of reasons why they're wanting the extra money right now, but they don't count on that towards their house payment or their car payments or anything. That's done through their jobs. This is what they call their fun money and their extra reserve for just being able to take care of things, because they're seeing the wave of daughter, or I think they have twins too that are going to college actually. So nice. It's they got 2 going at once for 4 years, and any of us that are parents here that have looked into the pricing on college.
Yeah, I'm already, jeez, my son is 8. I'm already kind of figuring out how I'm gonna afford this.
Right. Well, keep them in state for one. That's what Kim and I were joking about before people got here. Is that you want to keep them in state?
Yeah, right. He wants to travel.
So it doesn't surprise me though that Australia and UK and all them are going to union stuff, because
no, it doesn't surprise me either. It's more the timing. It's more the timing that now it's all happening like a deck of cards, like a house of cards falling.
No, I mean, they've always been pushing for that model though. Like always, ever since Uber was released there, they've always been pushing towards that model, because I mean, like, and we always say this, and here in the States, to do these things, you know, some things I can sign up and be ready to go in 10 minutes. Over there, like Australia, for example, you have to get a special permit on your license. You got to, you know, track your hours like you're a truck driver. You know, you have to use Logmate or whatever they have over there. You're only allowed to work a certain amount of hours between all the platforms, not just one, but between them all, because you track it in, you know, Logmate, and that tells you, oh, you can only work 12 hours a day or 10 hours a day. Well, if you're doing Uber and delivery or whatever, then you can only work 10 hours, period. Unlike here, I can do 10 hours Uber, 10 hours Lyft, you know, I can pretty much work 24 hours a day. But they've always had some type of laws for gig workers or contract. I'd say contract work, not even gig work, but just contract work.
But it's not out of range now to say we're not like those countries. I know, and it takes a lot more, but it's not out of range to say that that's more than being looked at here. We've already seen California do it, and that's just Prop 22 is just a waste. It's just completely ruining everything. And it's supplemental pay being taken out of all the other gig workers to help supplement California. So we can't even supplement other states. Luckily, this week, we saw Texas and Florida both pass proactive legislation to beat AB5 type legislation before it begins and say, no way. And they've said, here's what's going to happen. And they basically put out their Prop 22 before the AB5. So the chicken or the egg, this would be the chicken.
The chicken.
Well, see, we do it wrong here, though. That's our problem. Like, you know, and the pandemic's a very great point, because if you never know if your country is going to take care of you or not, the pandemic really shone. Because like Australia, for example, Australia said you cannot work at all, but we're paying you in full to sit at home. What do we do? We's like, put on a mask. Good luck.
Yeah. Well,
you know,
I don't think any country nailed the pandemic.
Well, they didn't nail it, but they did a lot
anybody
better.
got it stuck at 10 or something and was like, woo.
Well, I mean, I didn't say they nailed it. I'm just saying they did a lot more than what we did. You know, as far as for their workers and things like that, you know, they said, hey, don't worry about it. You know, essential workers only. Everybody else just stay home.
Right.
You know,
although they still had delivery people for all these delivery apps handing the food to people. You were not allowed to just throw it in the dirt to the side and we were told to do during the whole pandemic.
Throw it and run.
I mean, Ellen, you do delivery. I mean, are you still putting it down? Or are you handing it to them? Have we even moved to that? Have we even started to? I know the options there, but have the delivery people started to get proactive? Have you guys started to get proactive?
If
handing the food to them,
right? Well, I guess if they say hand it to me, I hand it to them.
Well, that's what he's asking. Are you seeing more hand it to me's now?
I see. That's a good question. I think I'm still seeing more leave it at the door.
See, I don't know. That's just weird to me. Like, I think that it's time that we start that. Even I know it's a stupid little thing, but it reflects the society. Like,
yeah, I don't think it's about pandemic anymore. It's about anxiety, social anxiety, and not seeing people like strangers. So it's like, just leave it on to look at you. I feel like that's the majority. It's not. I
also think a lot of people are ordering it as they're coming home from work. So when they come home from work, then they can come get it at the door. A lot of times I don't think they're even home. Sometimes, from what I've seen.
I just don't think people want to be bothered with other people.
Yeah.
I know.
I just feel like you're going to order, and I just don't want to be bothered going to it's like another level of, I hate to say, laziness with food delivery.
Yeah, but I mean, think of the amount of incidents that would be cut down if we were handing the food to them. There wouldn't be all these complaints about, he just chucked it at my house. My food isn't even here. Or, he didn't.
I don't know. I think sometimes with Hand It To Me, there's no proof that you've dropped off the order. Like it happened to me. When I first started doing this, it was a Hand It To Me order. It was a cheesecake and it was a stacked order. And the first one was dropped off, and the second one was a Hand It To Me. And, you know, had a nice little conversation, complimented her on her nails. It was her and her brother, you know, and she said I didn't drop it off. So sometimes with Hand It To Me, they can say that you didn't give it to them. They can just straight out lie to you or lie to the company and said it wasn't given. Where if it's leave it at the door, you have to take a picture. Sometimes what I've done though is I might even leave a note in the app if it's handed to me, and I'll say enjoy your food, just so there's kind of proof. So
yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Well, I mean, I guess it could happen either way. I just, as a country, I think we need to start getting back to like, hey, how are you? I'm good. How are you?
Anymore?
Nice day we're having here. Nice weather.
Right. Not just, dude, just leave it at the door. I already told you. Don't
enjoy your meal. You know,
that would mean we would have to talk and actually give customer service to people, which I don't know whether we even realize that we're in a customer service industry at this point.
Yeah.
Well, Bud Soda is not going to hold back on his opinion. False, Steve. Okay. He ended up with more problems with the Hand It To Me. You know, okay.
I don't have any problems.
Yeah,
I don't have any problems. The tip baiting,
yeah,
lying. I just don't get. Oh, maybe just
yeah. I'm the same way. Out of everything I do, you know, I would say maybe a 0.05 or 0.5% chance that I'm gonna have an issue.
Yeah,
you know, I mean. Unless we're talking about like app issues or something like that, that happens all the time. But as far as customers or something like that, very, very rarely do I have an issue.
I think it's very rare that it happens, but when it happens, it gets heightened so much because it never happens. So when you go through tip baiting, or when you go through like in Ellen's case where the customer said that they didn't get it and she had a conversation, like we're like, are you kidding me? Like, and I feel like it gets heightened because it hardly happens. So when it happens, it just stinks that it happens.
I think out of like 4,000 deliveries I've had, one time the customer lied and said they didn't get it. And I want to say maybe 3 on UberEats that tip baited. So not, like Kim says, not a lot, but when it does happen, it's a tough one.
I mean, is there any chance on that one? And I know it's just one, so most likely it's somebody just trying to scam the system. But is there any chance that you got the wrong house, or that somebody stole it? It was an apartment complex maybe, and the next person next door stole it, or...
No, I literally handed it to her.
Oh, this was the one you got to complain on was a hand. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then, you know, I guess the other thing is if you went up to a door and you had a bunch of food in your hand and you're like, here, and I didn't order it, and maybe it was my neighbor, I'd be like, thanks.
It depends on your neighborhood. You're in the wrong neighborhood. Yes, someone will just take the meal as if it was theirs.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for all the food. I appreciate this. But I guess that brings me back to a conversation that on Tuesday I was having again with Lou and Mary about W-2 work. And then I saw Kim, you were talking to UDM yesterday about W-2 work. And I'm just kind of wondering if how people would feel about even if it's a very part-time, let's call it even 1 day a week. Could you do 1 day a week if it even got you like partial or decent benefits? And let's say it was possible to do 2 days a week work from home. Would you do the W-2 and still continue this? So I'm not even saying like half and half or whatever. So even if you're full-time in the gig economy, would you take on 2 W-2 days? Let's call them, they could be home you could work them from home. And you get benefits and some kind of hourly. Is it at a point now? Because I know if I had asked this a year ago, most people would be like, nope, got to be my own boss. And I do too. I have been, I mean, for me, it doesn't work, but I have other gigs that I could be doing too outside of the app ones. So, I mean, is it at a point now where people if they could come up with a part-time way for W-2s to have really good benefits, because I know the workforce in this country is gone. I mean, I was talking on Tuesday about how literally I have a Walgreens that's one of the most trafficked Walgreens in Denver. I went there Saturday at I think it was 5:30 p.m. and they had a handwritten note on the door saying we were low staffed, we closed. Oh, wow. Now it has a 24-hour pharmacy. It was closed. And so there's out of the 20 Walgreens in Denver, there's 4 that are 24-hour pharmacies. This is one of them. It was closed. The store was closed. I'm seeing this more and more. And I'm seeing it more and more yesterday I was at Target and there were all these shipped orders. I was there for myself, but all these shipped orders were coming through on my phone for pharmacy. And while I was there in the store, I just looked because I was like, why am I getting so many? The pharmacy was closed. And I was getting all these deliveries to go grab shipped orders. I think people were freaking out, I need to get my medicine. I'll just do it through Shipped. And Shipped obviously didn't have the line of communication open with this specific store to know. And so they were throwing all these orders out. Luckily, again, I was just there doing my own thing because normally I'd have jumped on these and I would have taken them. But I'm glad I didn't because I would have got there and found that the doors were locked.
I would go back to I would totally go back to W2. If I ever get to the point where I'm not making what I need to do, I'm going to do whatever I need to do to support my family and to, make the money that I need to do. So whatever that is, whether it's W2, whether it's gig work, a combination of the best of both worlds, you combine them together, everybody has their whatever they need to do to survive. If it's going back to W2, I'm going back to W2. You need to do what you need to do to, get through life, get through, support your family wherever you are in your life. Everybody's at a different point in their life, but I have no problems doing it if I need to do it.
I guess, yeah, I agree with you fully, Kim. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. And especially I think all of us here have kids on the panel tonight. So we all know that, you got to do what you got to do, but is it time to how, Kim, how you're always saying that have all the apps you can in your arsenal. I agree with that. Is it time to have a W-2 1 or 2 days a week in your arsenal before you're forced to go have one 5-6 days a week?
If it works for you, then, go for it. I mean, I never stop anybody from doing whatever they need to do to get through their life or get through or make whatever money they need to make, whether it includes a W-2 or it doesn't include a W-2. And I always say this, and, find the right combination for you and what works for you. For right now in my life where I'm at, I don't know how I would squeeze in a W-2 just because,
Exactly.
Between my daughter going to school now and, everything else I have going on in life, I don't know where I would squeeze it in. So this fits my life right now, but I'm not opposed to it if it's going to fit into my life and where I need it to fit.
Well, and so here's an example, Marissa knows taxes and stuff. And so here's her saying that, W-2 benefits are granted at 30 plus hours a week. Well, again, I'm going back to what if they could be granted in part at 1 day a week, at more at 2 days, more at 3 days? What if there was a scaling process to benefits? I just think that, I wonder if and then it rolls me around to what Pedro talked about and what Hannibal talked about your mental state, would it be a little better for your mental state to have that 1 or 2 days, and we've been hearing a lot of this W-2 talk, but then on the flip side, last time I talked to Ellen, she was doing gig work on the side and she's a full-time parent. And she was doing W-2 work. And, even at a time when W-2 workers are lacking everywhere, I mean, you still can be reminded that you have a boss. I mean, clearly, I know that, things have changed for you in that respect for the W-2 portion. And now you rely heavily on the apps. So it can go both ways. I mean, we can't get too hyped about W-2 either. I'm just wondering if there's some meet in the middle, because people are starting to get weird or weirder. I don't really know how to word it right, but they are. People are starting to get very worried. I think this inflation is not slowing down. Rents are not going down. Then there's no housing bubble yet. We're just waiting for one to. I mean, I was talking to a good friend of mine out in California, and he's like, I just hope the housing market crashes soon. I'm like, this is your hope.
Yeah, but that's California. It's never going to crash out there.
Yeah, I know. But he was kind of speaking in a general sense. He's even willing to leave the state, and he does very well out there. But his brother's leaving the state like this month, coming back to Colorado, and he used to live out here. And so like he's actually thinking about it. It's gotten that bad. But he's just like, I just want it nationally I want the housing market to just fall apart. It's been junk. It's crap. People are buying too much stuff up and making it unrealistic for others.
I guess the biggest thing, if benefits are great. I mean, who doesn't want benefits? Because that's probably one of our biggest expenses coming out of a pocket as a gig worker. But my biggest hang up, I'll be honest, is having a boss again. Like
me too.
Like that's to me, like the luxury of what we do is coming and going as I please, not having someone like over my shoulder, like, what are you doing? How are you doing it? How are you leading your people? Like the pressure of having a boss to me is worth doing what we do every single day, at least in my opinion. Like that's the biggest thing, and why I do gig work. Like I control myself, not having someone else control my actions.
I totally agree with what Kim is saying. And just like full disclosure, I did work a preschool job, and actually Steve knows this, but I actually lost that preschool job on Monday because I had to take time off to pick up I have an older son who has autism, and I would have to pick him up from school because of behaviors. And to go to that boss and tell her, because I'm not going to ask if I can leave, but tell, like, listen, I have to leave to get my son. Very, very anxious feeling. And what can they do? They can't tell me no. But when I'm leaving my coworker with the students and they have to find somebody, constant anxiety when it came to something like that. So I agree with Kim. I don't think I want to stay in this space where I'm doing gig work full time for too long, maybe just through the summer till things get figured out and situated. But in the meantime, yeah, you're right. If I have to leave to pick up my son, I don't have to ask the Uber and DoorDash or Grubhub. I just go.
Yeah.
I just go. I simply log off on that app. So
but you also have been able to get through all this time with the same situation, with your son and having your job.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's just weird to me that during a time when they're having trouble staffing anything, and you've been with them a while, that they're that they'd even go there.
They have their reasons, and I didn't question it. I understand it. For them, they have to run a business, and they have teachers that have to be reliable. I mean, if I was in their shoes and somebody had to leave on a regular basis, for whatever the reason was, that's not a reliable employee. So I get their reason. And, behaviors with my son, he's profoundly affected by his autism. His behaviors, obviously, they increased like the last 5 months for whatever the reason is. So if it means these next few months, I'm, hustling like, Kim and doing it full time, then that's what I'm going to do. So, and I'm glad it works for you.
You want to know something strange though is, okay, I don't think I could ever go back to like a full-time W-2. I don't think I could handle a boss or not having the freedom. But one thing I do miss is actual coworkers. Because like when you have a W-2 and you go there every single day and you talk to the same people, you get to know people. With gig work, I see other gig workers, but it's like a 30-second thing. It's not like a everyday thing, and so that's one thing I do miss from a W-2.
Aren't you guys my coworkers?
Well, no, we don't get paid for this. No, I mean, like there's people I text all day long, you know, and stuff like that, but it's not the same environment. It's kind of like drinking at your house on the phone with a friend versus being in their presence drinking with a friend, or, you know, or you call your husband, Kim, tell him to go outside and eat his barbecue, and you call him from the kitchen, y'all talk on the phone and eat the barbecue, and see if it's the same.
I'll sometimes try to strike up a conversation with the restaurant workers, because at least when I was doing this more full time a couple months ago, just because, you know, Gary, you're right. Sometimes it's kind of lonely. Sometimes you miss that interaction. So but they're too busy to talk to me. They don't want to talk to me.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, it's the gig workers against the restaurant against the gig workers. You know, nobody knows how to talk to people nowadays. And it's just like
a lot of leave at the door orders. That's why.
No communication. No communication. That's to leave it at the door. You know, that's the same thing. But I mean, that's probably the only thing I really miss about a W-2 is, you know, being able to go, hey, how'd your kids do in this soccer game this week? Or, you know, something like the personal factor. You know, it's somebody, not like, oh, you know, how many orders you've been doing lately? You know, because I can care less. I don't care how many orders you do. I'm just trying to make conversation because I'm bored.
Yeah, you wanna. I think a good idea of looking at it, W-2 work and even gig work, is you don't rely on one or the other. So it's a good idea to not just have one app, but also look at opportunities. I think a lot of us, we like the gig stuff, but if you look at W-2, there's probably jobs that you may are qualified for that do really well. They may accommodate you in different situations. Like you have, you know, there's a good job out there for everybody, and most of them aren't that great. But it's a good idea just to, even if you're not interested, just to look out and look around. And even if you have a W-2, to, you know, sometimes they say the more you stay, that's not a good idea. If you're trying to get a lot of raises, you're trying to make money, you want to be moving ahead, like finding other jobs, even if it's the same, I guess, line of work. So I like, if I had to do a W-2, it would be remote work. I've seen it's a lot of companies that were hiring for remote work. There's some that do the hybrid model where you go for the office for a day or two, then you go home and you work from home. So there's a lot of opportunities. Like, you don't shun any of them away, regardless if it's a W-2 or gig work. Just use like their apps too. Like, okay, let's see if this works for me. If it doesn't, you move on. You don't want to stay stuck in any situation. So you don't want to say no to anything. And just look through everything.
I'll also say never close your door on anything. Like, exactly. I'm still in contact with a lot of my old, you know, district managers, regional managers, and like they still keep reaching out. I'm never going to close a door on something, even though in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, never going to happen ever again. But I'm not going to let them know it's never going to happen again. But like, what happens if out of the blue you get it, like you literally get an offer you really can't refuse at all? Like, you never know where life is going to bring you. Keep your opportunities open. You never know. I just know for me, like, you know, a week before lockdown pandemic, like I had like my breaking point, and during, it gave me a lot of time during, you know, lockdown of, I feel like I did a lot of soul searching, and, you know, a couple months later, this is where I'm ending up, and it's all for the better. But I always said in my mind, I'm like, I don't know whether I could, you know, be a boss or have a boss ever again. And that's kind of why I went in the direction that I went in.
But for the right amount of money, you would.
Yeah, you know, money talks all the time.
Or at least you'd think.
Never close doors, you know, always keep them open. You never know what's going to come your way.
Yeah, see, I've always said that too. I always look for a job, and doesn't mean I actively go put in applications, but I will look through and I'll see, you know, job boards, things like that. And I'm always, even if I have a great job, you know, I'm still going to look. Why wouldn't you? I mean, unless you're just a millionaire, money's money.
Or you shoot for the stars and the moons, and you know, hey, someone might actually give you a chance and an opportunity at some point. And you really never know where life is going to take you.
Yeah. I mean, that's open. Yeah. And that kind of brings me to the last point of this topic and really what'll close out tonight, which is autonomous. And Gary, you know how I feel about this subject.
And you
I
know
think it's
how
a joke.
I feel about it. I
think it's a joke. I know, but I mean, you and I kind of laugh about it all the time. It's a joke. I mean, like, I like that autonomous cars are starting to get to the point where they can detect if you're going to drive off a cliff and they will help you get back on the road.
Nice.
That kind of stuff is good. This full autonomous joke. In fact, let's watch the joke. Let's not just, it's only 49 seconds. Let's watch the joke.
Am Ionic 5 based robotaxi. Driving by myself. I've learned to handle all situations while taking care of my passengers. Seatbelt? I'll remind you. Dirt on the sensor? I'll take a quick shower. Surprise road closure? I'll find you a better route. Reliable for the person you love. Always driving safely and smoothly. Ionic 5-based robotaxi is ready for its first passenger. Hyundai and Motional. Ionic 5-based robotaxi, 2023.
Nice.
That's the damn Waymo car. I'm just telling you, that's the Waymo car. I've seen it.
Well, first of all, I've seen the Waymo car. Yes, it is the Waymo car, but actually it's not exactly the Waymo. Actually, the Waymo car is nicer, to be honest. The LiDAR's bigger on the top. I don't know about what you guys thought. That LiDAR looked like a piece of plastic from Home Depot, like for 39 cents.
It's that concept car, right? That's not exactly how it's done.
Well, the Ionic 5
is... Come on.
Here's what's going on. So basically, you guys know that they've put the Wallies into use in LA, right? They've got the little trash can robots with the stroller wheels rolling around.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, over in the UK, we've seen those. They're tipped over all the time, and they can't get back up. There was one video, and I could not find it, of like 10 of them that were all stuck in ice. All their wheels were frozen.
I remember that video.
And like you could hear them going, but they couldn't move, so like the food wasn't getting delivered.
And the new ones beep too. If they get stuck by something, they all just start beep 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 beep. It's funny. Like, did you see the one that fell into the sewer? like it was going down the road. It just said right into the sewer.
Yeah.
Like,
and then BuzzFeed had so these little trash cans are out in LA and they're delivering food, obviously in a very small select area. This commercial launched 3 days ago on Monday. And now, and I don't know if you've ever noticed this either, Gary, but so Motional has tagged the Ionic 5 as theirs. Motional uses the exact same colors and same font as Waymo. Green, blue, and that same 70 styles font.
Right.
So you could put them next to each other. It's like, what did these just go together? Waymo, Motional, because it looks like the exact same thing.
And I'm sure eventually one company will sue the other company for that.
Okay, but so they're saying like, hey, here's the deal. Let's have these trash cans deliver. Let's have these trash cans deliver the food. Well, okay. Are you sure? Well, let's also bring the autonomous cars in that we're saying are going to actually transport people. Well, what are they going to do? I mean, first of all, I don't know about you guys, but when I was watching that video, and like the one guy's like he's out of his seatbelt, and they're like, no, and he's like, oh, okay, and he's all smiling.
Right.
As a rideshare driver of many years, that's not how they act when you ask them to do things, especially if they've been drinking. So you're going to have people passing out. How's the robot car going to wake the person who passed out up? Because that's one of my worst things to have to deal with.
Put shockers in the seat.
I mean, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Spray
whether
guns
you like it or not, Steve. All of this stuff is going to happen.
I know, but see, here's the thing, Hannibal. Within the first hour or two of these shifts, somebody's going to puke in it. Somebody's going to pee on the seat. Yeah. Somebody's going to fall asleep.
There's always problems.
Somebody's going to kick a window out.
The one thing is they're not paying anyone because there's no one in there.
But they're paying $1 million per car.
Well, if it's $1 million per car, then I don't see how that's even functional as a business. I'm saying if it's reasonably priced and it's less, no one's complaining about the base wage. The robots are going to complain about the base wage.
Right,
and
because they'll get deactivated.
We're in a society where
literally
no one wants to speak to each other. A lot of people rather go into a car, especially women, because many Uber drivers are men who are creeps harassing them. They rather go into a robot car to go where they have to go. Like, it's going to happen, guys. You guys have to find a way to get.
At some point,
you don't have to worry about being, doing this kind of delivery stuff, because eventually they're going to find a robot that can do it without complaining about it.
Yeah, we're gonna see Kim and Ellen kicking over robots.
Yeah. These cars that drive themselves, weren't you guys just saying that you wanted that human connection and being?
It won't be. Most people don't want a human connection. So
yeah, I don't know how they'd get around literally all the issues that I was just mentioning, though, because those are real issues, and without a driver there, they become very real. People aren't going to think twice about puking; they're just going to puke. They're not going to be like, oh my gosh, this is this guy's car, I'm going to wait till we get where we're going. They're going to be like, there's nobody here. Like, I'm just going to let it fly, And I mean, like, then what? Too, like, if it doesn't get reported or something, then the next person getting in this is just problem after problem being layered. But here's my thing:
no cameras in the car, they'll just see who this person did and then either cut them off completely or find them. Like I would assume.
Or somebody else, but people will start wearing ski masks in there and then breaking the camera. Wow. I don't know. Everything's going to go around.
$180,000. That's what it costs for one Waymo vehicles. $180,000.
That's still too expensive, I think.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if that's really real anyway. That's a non-functioning LiDAR.
I'm saying that's the full vehicle package that includes everything: the outside camera, sensors, everything like that. That's everything.
Right, but the LiDAR doesn't work in under 30 degrees. Well, it shuts down, and you have to wait for roadside assistance. So you're still going to have a human come out and fix it.
Well, that's all right. Use it in southern states.
Right, where it kills people. I was talking about that the other day. Like, just put teeth on the front of it and just call it population control.
Hey, iRobot showed that it's just a defect. Robots can't be held responsible.
I'm just saying, okay, all of this was rolled out by Uber on Monday in their big video, about how they're moving forward. And it wasn't until the very end that they're like, and by the way, delivery drivers, you're going to be replaced by robots. Check it out. And then now it's robots and autonomous cars down in LA. And we know they just play this game once in a while, but all this falls at a time when everybody's pretty down on the way these apps pay anyway. So it's like, this was the end of your big rollout, Uber, is like to show people how you're going to eliminate people.
Well, Ellen, what platform? I'm sorry, I haven't watched your channel. What platforms do you work?
Grubhub, DoorDash, UberEats, and Shipped.
Okay, so all food or grocery delivery, right?
What was that? I'm sorry.
So all food or grocery delivery. So would you be upset if a robot came and took the orders you didn't want to take?
That I didn't want to take?
Correct.
No, let them have it. No.
See, there you go. $3 order, robot.
$2.50. As long as it's off my phone and somebody or something, fine.
How did they get the food there hot? No one's putting it in a hot bag.
Maybe the robots and maybe the trash can's an oven.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna say that the actual trash can is a warmer, like the Little Caesars warmers,
It's gonna be like an easy bake oven, and here you go.
It's so funny. And then like 2 years later from all this, when it's all working, what are we gonna be doing? Like, we're still laughing. Like, I don't know. It's just. We'll see.
Well, I like that they put eyes on them. It just makes them look cute.
This model doesn't work. They can't get a profit, but they know if they can get people who can't complain, robots, to do it, they can maybe just find a way to get a profit. So they're putting a lot of effort into this.
Yeah, I just, like, speaking for my area only, I don't see how robots would even get around. Like, we have torn up streets, sidewalks. I mean, like, it's not robot friendly. It's just not. I mean, it's not a city that's robot friendly. I don't see how you would get these things around without them. Plus, they look like junk. I don't know if you guys have seen them. And BuzzFeed even had an article out this week that said, one already got lost in the woods in LA. I mean, there's not a lot of woods in LA, and this one's like, and the funniest part about the article was the ending that said, was he actually lost, or was he just trying to find himself? Which I thought was hilarious.
Hollywood sign? Did they find him at the Hollywood
sign? They had to go they had to go track him down in the woods. He wasn't sure where he was going. He was just off. He was four-wheeling. He was out having some fun. But I mean, we've seen that with the cars too. The cars will like take off and then they get stuck in a scenario and then they try and unjam themselves. And then we had that one, it was a few months back. I know, Gary, I was talking to you about it. The robot car was running the lights. You know, it's like evading the police to try and get back into its like.
But have you seen how some of these other drivers drive too? What's the difference?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, maybe.
Go to New York and tell me they don't do that.
Yeah, no. I don't know. I just feel like this is all like this perfect storm right now that's coming down, though. That's like, you know, if it helps get some people out of the gig economy, great, because I think it needs to be thinned out a bit anyway. But I'm just, you know, it's been said tonight already. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's kind of, I guess, what the take on tonight is really don't. I mean, really, really don't. And if you have been and you've been hearing it from Kim or others, don't. I'm more reinforcing that now than ever. Like, that don't. Be on all the apps you can. Be thinking outside the box. I mean, like for me, I've been very lucky with Curry lately. However, I'm taking that with you know, trying to keep that in perspective too, because that could be pulled away at any minute. You never know, you know, but I've been getting very lucky with it. And so I don't want to get all cocky with it or anything, but, you know, it's been very good to me. And I don't know. I just, you know, I don't think autonomous vehicles taking people around is any time in the near future. I think some autonomous upgrades will come, like the self-park feature, push a button, let it self-park. All that kind of stuff will be more perfected. And we'll see autonomous features, but not fully driving cars that can, without a person, come to the house, wait for you, get you, take you where you're going. You know, like I've always said, like, you know, it needs to start with buses. Like, give it a bus route that only makes 4 right turns and perfect your autonomous there first. You know,
hey, we never thought that Uber and Lyft were going to be a thing of the future either. We never thought Instacart was ever going to be a thing of the future. What was it? Was it Uber was on? Was they on Shark Tank? Where one of them was on Shark Tank, and remember, none of them wanted to even get into it because they're like, who's going to want to go into other people's cars? And here we are, how many years later, and they're one of the top companies that's out there for. You know,
I'll tell you this, I hadn't heard a lot about Uber when they came to my market. I was instantly on board. I jumped on right. I was one of the people right away into it. I was, as a person working in the bar industry, I used it twice before I signed up to drive for it. So,
well, see, with the Shark Tank though, they were correct. See, Shark Tank was 100% correct. None of these companies are worth investing in, and that's what Shark Tank was saying. Because they all lose money. So if you're looking to make money, these are not the companies to go with.
Yeah. I just think the people element isn't just about the apps themselves. It's kind of the way I see the world right now. And like I was saying, like everything's shut down. I mean, I live in Denver and things are closed. Like things are closed during normal business hours. And it's just very strange to me. I've never seen this in my life before. I've never seen in my lifetime these Walgreens closed on a Saturday. And if it is, it's because it flooded or something. It's not because, or an electrical issue. It's not because of, we just didn't have anybody show. You know, this is just crazy to me. Like usually Walgreens has 10 employees on there at a time and they don't have any enough to keep the place open. You don't have a manager who's responsible to come down on a Saturday and keep the doors open?
Well, it's funny you say that, Steve, because I'm putting on like my retail hat. I'm like, I can't imagine a district manager or even a regional manager like having to make that call to close a store. Like and not holding someone accountable to not having the staffing levels in that store, like, oh yeah.
But then how do you hold them accountable?
Pharmacy.
Right, but also how do you hold them accountable? I mean, what do? Fire them? But there's nobody. It's not like you have a line of applicants. That's the problem.
Yeah. But that's
you've got this bad. If you have a bad manager right now, you've just got a bad manager because you don't have a line of people wanting it.
No, it's literally probably at this point like an HR nightmare out in the world, because hard managers and hard workers and hard employees are hard to find at this point. You're going to kind of have to work with what you got and, make those really tough decisions. Do you keep them? Do you let them go? If I let them go, then I'm going to be short. Then do I get another person? How do I get another person? It's like, I feel like a very vicious cycle on a lot of these companies and what they're going through.
Well, guys, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I know that I told Ellen I would get her out of here exactly at 8, but I do want to throw one last thing up. It's 50 seconds long, and I was watching Dashing Grandpa last night, Brandon, and he's been doing a great live lately. But I just took a clip of his video because there was a part last night that I think that everybody in the gig economy this week, last week, whatever, needs to see. So let's just take a quick peek at this, and we'll jump back, say some goodbyes, and we'll see you back here next week. But
thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that help. That's what we're all here to help each other. Should be, not to try to knock each other or bash each other, or be nice. It's simple and easy. And if you can't be nice, it's most of you've heard the old saying: if you don't have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. That still stands true. If you can't be nice, just don't say nothing. But always be willing to listen to what people are saying. Don't be afraid to change. There you go. Because you might learn something by making a change, by listening to somebody else, even though it's a different way of doing something that you're doing. Be open-minded and listen. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate
why that resonated with me, but it did.
That's what we're all here to help each
other. On YouTube in the past couple of weeks, I thought it was it really kind of just brought me a good feeling, and I wanted to share that with everybody. I don't know if it did anything for anybody else, but
I like his channel. That's one thing I like about we always have a new guest every week, so I get to see all these new channels that don't show up on my YouTube feed, so now I just subscribed to Ellen. I'm gonna go watch some of her content. Mm-hmm. So anybody else here, if you haven't already, go subscribe to her content. She's a content creator. I'm sure it's great.
And her link is in the show notes.
Yeah. So I mean,
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And go check out her content too. Ellen's got, when I interviewed Ellen a ways back, she does some good cuts with her videos too. She's and she works in Henderson outside of Vegas, so it's not quite the complete Vegas atmosphere, but it's just she's always got the nice sunsets and the nice, I don't know. She's got some good videos out there. So go check out her stuff for sure.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. And guys, that's all I got for this week. Anybody else have anything, or at least on this topic? So let's stop the robots. Let's not let the robot hostile takeover happen. I know Hannibal thinks it's happening sooner than I do. And I guess
I feel bad for you guys, but yeah. Hopefully it doesn't. It does. Hopefully it doesn't.
Maybe we can coexist with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine it working in Hannibal's world over in Brooklyn and even Manhattan and the Bronx. I can't even imagine how that would actually possibly work, just based off of the population and buildings, and be interesting.
Yeah.
I seen a drone delivery the other day. Very cool. Just saying.
You saw that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's stop the robots on. And if you guys haven't seen the movie WALL-E, if you don't have kids and you haven't seen WALL-E, I love that movie too. But if you have not seen WALL-E, go watch WALL-E. because Wall-E kind of is the future that I imagine if we let the robots have their way. It's just like this big floated.
Well, it's too late for that.
It's the people that I'm worried about, though, Hannibal. You remember the people in Wall-E?
Yeah, but
they just can't even get out of their chairs.
Are we there?
Just like their chairs just move for them and
take
them to the buffet.
Check it out. Yes,
remember when they had to walk for like the very first time in like years?
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us here this week, and we will see you back here next week on the Roundtable. Have a great week.